Hey friends, it's Becky here back with Bountifully Blessed, and today I just wanted to show you a really delicious, unique meal that I actually started making when my husband and I got married. Fun little backstory, my husband and I actually met while he moved where I'm at. So he's originally from Cincinnati, and they have this, what I thought was the weirdest thing in the whole wide world, called chili spaghetti. There's two different kinds from the two different areas that they're from, and there's one that is Skyline Chili Spaghetti, and one of them is, oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank. Skyline and, oh my goodness, that's going to drive me crazy. Okay, the other one is Gold Star. And so you had Skyline and Gold Star, and there's like this competition between the two of them. And when I first met my husband, he used to do a hokey chili spaghetti. And he would basically just get a can of chili that was really good, and he'd put it over noodles. And I was like, what in the world are you doing? This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And I mean, it tasted okay. It wasn't like anything special, but I was like, why are you putting chili on noodles? That's just weird. Well, long story short, after that, he still has a craving for that, but I, since then, have enjoyed making a copycat of the Skyline recipe. I have made a copycat of the Gold Star. I was not a fan. So if anybody were to ask me what my opinion is, I am definitely a Skyline chili kind of gal. So you can blame my husband for that. So I wanted to show you the recipe that I have been making for a really long time at this point in our marriage. And it's going to seem very, very odd. It will. I remember the first time I made it, my husband was so stoked. And now it's one of my favorite things to make. I can throw it in the freezer when I make extras. I usually make a double batch. And it just has that smell, that aroma that is just, oh, it's just so delicious. So I wanted to share it with you. So we are going to seem like we are putting literally everything in the kitchen sink here into this recipe, because that's just kind of the recipe that it is. So I've got our pan here. We are actually, yes, it's going to sound weird. You want lean beef. So this is 93.7, which is what I usually get at my store. And you want to make sure that it's lean. And we are going to do 2 pounds of this. Yes, we are putting it in raw. Again, everything about this is going to sound really weird, but I tell you, if you want something unique to try, whether you're from Cincinnati or not, you will be hooked. It's hard not to be. Let me put this in here. So I just preheated my thing. This is going to cook down a lot. And I love putting this on, you can do it on noodles, obviously it's kind of the traditional way, but that is kind of the gist. We are going to add our homemade beef stock. We need 4 cups. I wanted to use up the rest of this one that I have here. If I can open it, there we go. So 4 cups of beef stock is going to be our base. I'm fairly certain that this gives me almost 2. Yep, I was correct. So we're just, yes, we're going to pour all of that in there. It sounds weird, but I promise it will be worth it. So since I've got that, it was a little under 2 cups. These are my frozen ones, and each one is 1/4 of a cup. So that's going to be 1/2 cup. There's another full cup. So that's 3 and 4. And I'm going to actually throw one more in there because it wasn't quite to 4 cups. So now that we have our 4 cups of broth in there, obviously this is going to cook down, so it's not a big deal. We are going to have 2 cans 2 8-ounce cans of tomato sauce. Again, we're just going to pour all of this in here. It's going to feel like everything in the kitchen sink. Let's move this like that. There we go. I'm making a double batch. You can obviously do this with one batch, so like 1 pound of beef and stuff like that. But honestly, I get a hankering for it, and it's nice not to have to worry about it. So I'll probably do whatever we're going to eat, and then I'm going to put all the rest in the freezer. And you can put it over noodles. You can put it over, one of my favorite things actually to do with this is to put it over a hot link with some Hawaiian King's rolls, or they actually make a hot dog bun. And oh my word, it is so good. I get a hankering for it. And then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Honestly, I usually add a little bit extra splash of that because I feel like it usually needs a little bit more of the acidity. So I usually probably do more like 2.5, even 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And then Worcestershire is about 2 teaspoons. But again, Worcestershire is one of those that you just need a little extra yum. So I probably do more like 2.5 to 3 tablespoons that I've kind of finagled over the years. And now we can add all of our powders and all of the other flavors. So we're going to add 1 bay leaf. We are going to add a little bit of everything. Chili powder is the biggest one, which is about 2 to 3 tablespoons. Obviously, we are still technically making a chili, so I usually definitely go a little bit heavier. I usually do about 2.5 tablespoons, seems to be good balance for me. Then we are going to add 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of cumin. I remember one time I made it without the cumin and it tasted so bad. It didn't taste bad. It just didn't taste right. And then we want 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne. This usually does have a little bit of a kick, but it's a good kind of kick. If you don't like heat, maybe lower that. And then we are going to do 1/4 teaspoon of clove and allspice. This was actually the first and main recipe I ever needed allspice in. I had never used it. I didn't even know what it was. Now it's like you need it. You need it in this kind of recipe. Okay. And then there's one very last, very odd ingredient after we add a good bit of salt. About 1/2 teaspoon. But let's be honest, can you really overdo the salt? Probably. Not going to hurt anything. We are going to add 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. I should still have plenty of mine in here. Fabulous. This stuff is potent. I probably don't even need that much. Mine in my oil. I'm just going to add the last of that because this stuff is very, very potent and will be very happily used. And last but not least, this was the one ingredient I thought was really weird, is you are going to want some unsweetened baker's chocolate. And for 2 pounds, we use 1/2 ounce of chocolate, so it actually breaks it down here, which is nice. So each section is 1/2 ounce. So 2 sections is 1 ounce. So very, very helpful to know that. So I can literally grab this, my baker's chocolate. It's already going to be broken up into sections like this because I've been using it. So one of these is 1/2 ounce. So you can grate it. You can throw the whole thing in there like I do. You can use cocoa powder. I've done it with cocoa powder. I prefer using it like this. So that is the gist of making some Cincinnati chili. What we are going to do now is I'm going to mix this all together, and we are going to let this basically just cook down and simmer for the next, where's my thingy-majigger here? Now we are going to combine this all and let it simmer. Well, not really simmer, but we're going to let it reduce down. The meat is going to obviously be completely cooked thoroughly through here. Now, one thing that is super duper important with this recipe, which is going to sound really odd, is the meat needs to be really broken down. So as my husband likes to describe this, it's more of a sauce versus a chili. And that was weird for me to get used to at first because I wanted it to be really thick. But if you want it to be treated more like a sauce, the meat needs to be very, very finely minced. You can actually find Skyline chili in cans online. We actually have this really cute little hokey store that we know in our area that is called Piratos. And they sell Skyline chili in cans. And so every once in a while, my husband will get a craving for the very specific flavor that is Skyline chili in a can, because obviously we're not in Cincinnati. But nonetheless, the goal is to make it more of a sauce. So the meat is going to cook all through the liquid, and you want it to be very, very fine and minced. So that is the ultimate goal with this. So once this gets closer to actually being done where we want it, we are going to start up our noodles, and this is going to be dinner tonight. And for any prospective meals coming up, you can toss them in the freezer. So this is the gist of chili spaghetti, Skyline chili spaghetti specifically, and it is delicious. The smell of it just reminds me of home. I don't know why it's so stinking delicious, but it is. It's a weird thing. It does feel like you just put all of the random nonsense in it, but it's good. So this is chili spaghetti, and obviously right now it looks a little crazy because we're just kind of breaking it apart. We're cooking it down a little bit, and we're just going to let it do its magic. So we're going to let this simmer for quite a while until it gets quite a bit thicker. That is the goal. So I will be back to show you when it is actually ready to put into some pasta noodles and enjoy. Because, okay friends, so as you can see the layer here, this is where we started, was all the way up here. And this has significantly reduced, I'd say probably by, yeah, about half or so. You can see how much thicker it is. Meat is nice and soft and like kind of smaller pieces. Any pieces I see that are a little bit bigger still, I just kind of give them a little help. And then I've got my water over here that's just starting to boil so that I can add my noodles. And then you can enjoy your chili spaghetti. So this part is going to be more of a personal preference. Like I said, I usually have done it a little bit thicker in the past. But you can do it as thin or as thick as you want. But you do want it to taste like you want it to taste, obviously. And you don't want it to be just liquid with meat, you know, flavored meat, basically. But this would definitely be one of those meals I would totally want to try and can and see how good it tastes. So one day I will get to that part of life. We're not there just yet, and that's okay. But this is looking really, really good. I'm going to kind of mess with the texture of it just a little bit longer so that way I can make sure it's the right texture. Remember, we want it to be almost more like a sauce rather than a chili consistency. And then what you have are called your different ways of having your chili. So you can add raw onion, you can add cheese. The most common way that we usually do it is adding kidney beans. I honestly just really like it for what it is. I don't want to add anything else. To me, that takes away from the specialness of the flavor that I really, really crave when I make this. So basically, just lots of tender love that we're giving this. And we're just kind of letting it simmer and smelt the house. So we will be plating it here soon. I'm going to make up our noodles, and then we will be enjoying some delicious chili spaghetti. So hopefully this encourages you to have some fun, get out of your comfort zone a little bit, try something that maybe sounds a little unusual, and you may love it. That's how this has come to be such a delicious, exciting thing that I really like to mess with in our house. So, all right, I'll be back when we are plating up all of our yummies. Okay, friends, we have our chili spaghetti is all done, ready to go. I've got my bowl of noodles that are all nice and cooked up. And this is a pretty good consistency. You can see there's obviously a decent amount of liquid in it still, but you also want to make sure that everything is nice and well combined. So this is a really good consistency if you want it to be more of a sauce. And we are just going to add this on top of our noodles. Lots of good stuff. And we will see if it still has been approved. He usually has the beans that we put into it. So this is something that we do differently. Okay, sorry about that. My sound went off. So I'm gonna go enjoy some wonderful chili spaghetti. This is how you make it. And I am going to enjoy it without beans. But my husband, when he is gonna eat, he will have some with some kidney beans, and that will be just wonderful. So that is how easy, and you just gotta babysit it, make sure that it's nice and simmered. Just takes a little tender love to make sure that nothing burns, make sure that the meat gets minced enough, and make sure you don't overcook it, and just let it do its thing, marry all those yummy flavors together, and it's delicious. So I just like it for what it is. I'm not going to add anything extra to it. And usually we do it with angel hair pasta. That is a husband thing on my end. And so you got to have it with the angel hair pasta. And so I don't know if that's a Cincinnati thing or if that's just my husband thing, but he can do whatever he wants. It's from his home state. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope that you want to go out of your comfort zone a little bit, decide to make yourself some delicious chili spaghetti, and you'll have to let me know. Are you a Skyline or are you a Gold Star? If you make it yourself or if you're already from there. So thanks so much for watching, and I pray that you are bountifully blessed.